fragen wollen. Das können noch gerne ein bisschen mehr sein als im Fakultätsrat. Also sehr schön.
Super, danke.
Ja, prima. Wir warten aber noch auf einige, deswegen geht es noch nicht gleich los. So, hello everybody and welcome to this meeting of the Doctoral School Religion, Conflict, Reconciliation. Today is a special day because we have a guest, a new colleague in the Faculty of Theology. Her name is Sarah Jäger, Professor Sarah Jäger, and I'm very grateful that she is interested in our work, and I find this very good opportunity also for us to present a bit the state of our institute and of reconciliation research, to present ourselves, and also to make contact with her and to listen to what she is telling to us. So thank you very much for joining and for being with us, Sarah Jäger, and I would like to give you first the microphone and ask you to present yourself a bit to us. Who are you? What is your interest in research, and what do you want to say to us?
Thank you very much for the invitation. It's great to be with you all here, and I'm really looking forward to hear more about your work and about the center. My name is Sarah Jäger. I've studied Protestant theology in various places in Germany and in Sibiu, Romania. In 2017, I received my PhD in Munich with Rainer Anselm with a thesis on gender discourses in Protestantism in the early Federal Republic. After that, I worked as a researcher in the field of peace ethics as well as in the field of diachronic research. At the FEST, in an interdisciplinary research institute in Heidelberg, I organized and moderated a 3-year discourse process that examined central issues of just peace. So just peace is one of my research focuses. Since January this year, I am junior professor for systematic theology and ethics here in Jena, and I'm very happy to meet you all today. So perhaps that's enough for the moment.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much for presenting you. And you heard Professor Jäger has overlapping fields of interest with us, and especially also in peace research and the notion of just peace. You may know the book of Philpott with this title, Just Peace, which is also very important in reconciliation studies. And there was a whole project from this FEST in Heidelberg on publishing several books on peace and justice and different issues, also partly related also to the German military and its role in international missions, for example, or the church's role in the public discourses on reconciliation. So very happy that you are with us again. Now we are also a bit more people here, and I thought to start with possibilities that every one of us could present herself or himself to Dr. Jäger, and as well I would like that Francesco may start. He is the coordinator of the center and as well the coordinator of the doctoral school. Dr. Francesco Ferrari is philosopher from formation, and he will introduce him first and then we may go around.
Thank you very much, Martin, and thank you, Prof. Jäger. Glad to meet you. I was attending also your lecture on trust you gave here in Jena, and I was very happy because trust is also a topic that for me is very important in my research. Trust, yes. In my research, I address trust as one of the key elements of reconciliatory processes. And as Professor Leiner said, I studied philosophy. I had my PhD between Tübingen and Genova. And it was about Martin Buber. And then I joined the trilateral project, Hearts of Flesh Not Stone, about Israel, Palestine, and Germany, and encountering the suffering of the other. And during this time, I also developed my introduction for Buber's political and social writings. They have been published in his Werkausgabe from the Gütersloher Verlagshaus. So I am basically a philosophy of religion, interested in reconciliatory topics since many years now. And as Professor Leiner said, I'm also working as coordinator of a JCRS and of a doctoral school. So I think it was even more than enough about me. Now I'm glad to introduce my colleague Luis, who is also a postdoc at JCRS.
Okay. Nice to meet you, Professor Yeager. Okay, I'm Luis Peña. I'm from Colombia, and I work here in the JCRS as postdoctoral researcher, and I'm making also in the process of making my habilitation. I work in different projects here with South Africa and in the International Alliance with the Armenia region. And my main topic and my main interest is to discuss the spatiality and ecology of reconciliation. I am geographer. I made my PhD in France in social geography, and I came from the security and conflict studies. Yeah, and I have been here for 4 years in the JCRS, and yeah, I hope I can tell you more about my work when we meet us personally.
Maybe.
Yes. Hello. I don't use this computer's microphone, so but can you hear me? That's good. So I try to avoid any complication.
So maybe I can orientate this computer closer to you.
Okay. Otherwise, because it yeah, there is a kind of echo. That's why I just muted it. Thank you, Francesca. Professor Yeager, nice to meet you and welcome. So I can't concentrate on this different screen quickly. I'm a PhD student at the center, and I'm working on transitional justice and in the context of Kurdish conflict, and try to understand the agency within identity of victim, activists, or political actors. But particularly, I'm focusing on also gender aspect of justice perception of these local people. So I was really happy when I heard that you are also working on gender issues. Yeah, and I try to understand these local initiatives in Kurdish conflict in Turkey.
Hello everyone. Hello, Professor Yeager. My name is Shota. I come from Georgia, Tbilisi. I used to work about 8-9 years in Georgia in peace building system, in peace building work, civil dialogue. Now this is I started my second year at JCRS as a PhD student. I focus on my topic is reconciliation concept as a framework in unresolved ethnopolitical conflicts, based on specifically on the case of Georgia, Abkhazia. And I think, no, that's all. Very short.
Thank you. Both are political science.
Yes, we both are political science.
That's great. Then let's start with our colleagues online. So I see Davide Tacchini, for instance.
Okay. Hello. Nice to meet you. Also attend your lecture. The lecture you gave in Vienna last year, and My name is Davide Tacchini, and I'm Italian, of course. My background is in Islamic studies and Christian Muslim relations. I had my PhD back in 2006 at the Catholic University of Milan in Italy on the radical Muslim views of St. Paul. So that was my background. I've been working on radical Islam and modern contemporary Islamic thought for a long time now. As you can see, the Twin Towers behind me. All right, you see the poster there. And I moved to Jena in January 2018 as a research fellow. Actually, I didn't spend much time in Jena this year because of the pandemic, and but I'm still there. I mean, I'm still connected. And since this January, I'm associate coordinator for the PhD program, this PhD program, and in particular, I'm in charge of new applicants. So I'm making the scrimmage of the early applications. Currently I'm writing a book on the press, Western press, and the pandemic. But my current research in as far as reconciliation studies are concerned is mainly about refugees and reconciliation, and religious leaders and reconciliation. So my background is in Islamic studies, and my current research topics are mainly these ones. Of course, I've been involved in the Armenia project, the one that Luis mentioned, the Academic Alliance for Reconciliation Studies in the Middle East, and I'm among the editors of the book that we are expecting to be out. And my last book that came out in June is about Islam and democracy, and with a list of interviews with Muslims who live in Europe. And also I found some connections with the idea of the reconciliation with the self, reconciliation with your past. That is tangentially, it's part of my current research. I think it's also more than enough. So I leave the floor to the others.
Thank you, David. So we mentioned the doctoral school and those that are applying, and here I see Zinat, who can also introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Dr. Sarah. Nice to meeting you. I'm Zinat Hassan from Lebanon. I'm living in Qatar, and I'm a potential PhD student. I like to work on reconciliation in Lebanon because as Lebanese, I'm interested in social cohesion and political stability, social stability. So I'm still my proposal under process. So maybe on February 12th, we will have meeting, and I hope I can get the chance and start the process formally. I'm interested in refugee, and this is a chance to connect with Dr. David, because I'm interested in working on social cohesion in Lebanon between Syrian refugees and Lebanese communities, and I have done some work, so maybe we can get connected later, Dr. David.
Actually, we already did a few days ago.
Yeah.
But yes, that was too formal, you know.
Okay.
Great. We are also Abdel Ghani is also applying for our doctoral program with us.
Hello, Professor Jaeger. Hello, Professor Martin, Dr. Francisco, and all the other colleagues. It's nice to be with you today. I'm applying. I'm from Egypt. I'm Abdel Ghani Husseini from Egypt. I have a master's degree in English linguistics, applied linguistics, or cognitive, especially cognitive linguistics. Thus, I'm trying to apply for a project, a PhD project, concerning the role of religion, the possible role of a religion in changing the cognitive schemata of a person, achieving introspection, inner introspection, and toleration with the other, in order to get to reconciliation. So I'm trying to concentrate on the using of some religious contexts or texts from the three Abrahamic religions to be connected. Thus, my main discipline is reconciliation, but the other disciplines is comparative religion and sociology and psychology. Thank you for being with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Abdelghani. Now we have Benjamin.
Hello to everyone, and very welcome in our team, in our Jena Center for Reconciliation Studies, Professor Jäger. Probably I'm very happy to see all of you as every week. And my name is Benjamin. I come from Israel, and I'm doing my PhD studies in Jena Center for Reconciliation Studies. Professor Martin is my advisor, supervisor, and also I'm being a secretary for International Association for Reconciliation Studies, that our big association for peace and reconciliation. Okay, so yeah, my research is in reconciliation in Ukrainian, Russian conflict resolution through critical discourse analysis. Thank you.
Thank you, Benjamin. Now we have Mika with us.
Hello, Professor Jäger. Nice to meet you. And my name is Mika An. I'm from South Korea and currently living in Jena. I'm just 10 minutes away from Yen Tower now. My topic is about the ethnic conflict in Ethiopia, and I'm trying to seeking the role of NGO to promote the reconciliation there. Thank you.
So thank you, Mika. Now, Natalie.
Good morning, Professor Jäger. My name is Natalie Manco. I am from Colombia. I did my master's degree in Heidelberg, and now I am working for my doctoral research, and I want to develop or to research about the signification of the concept reconciliation in the chair of peace by teachers in Colombia after the peace agreement in 2016. It was mandatory to implement the chair of peace in the national schools in Colombia. And I want to work on the topic reconciliation and how they work by the teachers in some violence areas in Colombia.
Thank you. Hiba.
Yeah, hello, I'm Hiba Sarouj. I'm a scientist and I'm currently studying social sciences and philosophy. And I am studying reconciliation from the point of view of architecture and how it can tell the history of a people. It's a bit an alternative way of seeing the history of both Lebanon and Germany. And I'm also going to work on Colombia. I'm also a filmmaker. I'm actually also learning filmmaking, and I have came up with two pictures for now, two short movies that you can watch online, and one is on the JCRS website. So yeah, welcome to our group, and I'll be happy to meet you.
Thank you, Ivan. Now, Havagul.
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you, Professor Sarah. I'm Havagul. I am from Turkey. I'm living in Turkey. I'm a psychologist. I'm doing master's degree in the field of psychology of religion. I worked on religious openness hypothesis. Now I am working on the relationship between mindfulness, spirituality, and the prayer. I'm interested with reconciliation between refugees and host society in Turkey and Germany. I want to examine this utopic perspective. I am a candidate. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now we have Edna.
Good afternoon, Professor Sarah and all my colleagues. My name is Edna Kange from Kenya. My background is political science and public administration, and I hold a master's in armed conflict and peace studies. And thereafter, I pursued a 2-year fellowship program in Washington, DC on women, peace, and security. And I'm a PhD candidate, currently writing on the role of political parties in electoral violence in Africa. And I'm trying to see if there's room for reconciliation. And this is going to be a comparative analysis between Kenya and Ghana. Thank you very much. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Now let's go to Mexico, I guess, with Matias.
Hello, good morning, Dr. Yeager. Good morning, friends from JCRS and everybody. My name is Matias. Actually, in this moment, calling from Mexico. It's quite early here. I am coming from the UNESCO Chair for Peace Studies program in Innsbruck, but somehow I have been related to Bread for the World and their sub-program, which is the Civil Peace Service. And in that line, I'm working in Mexico, in Oaxaca, in the southern part of Mexico, and have been living here in the region for now altogether like 14 years. Before I did a master degree in rural sociology in the UAM, University of Mexico City. And my idea, which is a PhD idea, which is still very initial, is working on the conflictive and peace-building processes of Mexico. There is a high tension between the so-called imaginary Mexico, which is the modern Mexico, the developed Mexico, the mestizo and white Mexico, and on the other side, what is called the profound Mexico, which is the deep Mexico, the indigenous Mexico, the community, collective-oriented Mexico. And these tensions are have been provoking all over the last 5 centuries, very strong tension and very strong conflictivity, which is very present today. Violence is a basic issue. Mexico is not categorized as a war country, though it has more victims. For instance, in 2019, I mean, this gambling with numbers is somehow surrealistic and perverse, but it has like 3 times more victims than Syria in 2019. And so, yes, this is the context. I'm working here, trying also to support the work of the Civil Peace Service in Mexico, which have been starting to work here like 3 or 4 years ago. And now there are 8 counterparts in different parts of the country. And in this moment, I'm participating in creating a kind of network, or sometimes we call it already platform, in the sense of Lederach, who, by the way, hopefully we will win for a conference now on 25th of February for a beginning discussion, we hope. And yes, I recently sent my PhD proposal, and I'm looking very forward to meeting you soon, guys, to speak more about this. Thank you very much.
Promised. And also my acknowledgement, it's 6:30, so or something like this?
No, it's 7:30.
7:30. Okay, but it's still heroic that you are so early with us. And, of course,
no, but I must say it's not so hard for me because I'm used to get up early. I'm more a kind of a morning bird.
Pedro, what about you?
Hello, my name is Pedro. I'm from Brazil. I'm currently here in Brazil. And this is my first year as a PhD student. My background is law and conflict resolution and mediation. And I'm currently working on a policy paper with policy recommendations aimed at curbing or reducing conflicts within society. And it is based on the learnings of my country's recent crisis and on a minor degrees in other crises that occurred in other places and other ages, like the Weimar Republic, for example. And yes, that's it. I'm very pleased to meet you, Professor Jäger, and that's all.
So, Attila.
Hi, my name is Attila Noj. I'm coming from Serbia. I have started my research activity some 10 years ago in Kosovo when I worked in International Business College Mitrovica. So I had some experience teaching law, legal studies, EU studies, administration. And then from here, I got an idea that I want to apply for a PhD. So I applied with JCRS, which I think is very good because it's very interdisciplinary, what I like and what was also always the point we focused on. And I'm focusing my research on. My research is together with the Faculty of Law with Professor Knauf, and it's about informal rules in post-conflict development. Now, as I started my proposal and everything, this field started to grow because we got more rules in, and I'll try to combine them all in my my PhD. So I'm right now writing it, and I've just left Jena just before Christmas, and I was hoping to go back, but I still hope I can go back soon, and we can meet in person. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Attila. So now we have Bong Seop.
Hello, my name is Bong Seop Park. I'm from South Korea, and I'm preparing to apply for JCRS. I've studied theology, and my study topic is the reconciliation of the political conflicts in South Korea. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Judita.
Hi. Thanks for bringing me up. I'm very new to the doctorate program, and my background is from psychotherapy and also from humanitarian work. I am a director of a humanitarian group that works with refugees in these last years, and my specialty is trauma-sensitive mindfulness, and I'm also a mindfulness teacher for many, many years. And what I'm trying to research in my doctoral project is and dissertation is the use of mindfulness and trauma skills, trauma studies, to augment reconciliation processes. And I'm very curious about reconciliation processes. And just lately, actually, in our group here in Israel, I come from Israel and from the Galilee. We're trying to understand what is reconciliation and what is mediation. And I really enjoyed what we were speaking about last time about reconciliation being a platform where disagreement can be held. That is very nice. It's something that I immediately shared, and they're very curious about it. I've been for many years working on the relationships between the different cultures in this region, Druze and Christians and Muslims and Cherkessi and Jewish and Buddhist, and I come from a Buddhist orientation. So that's it, I think. Thank you.
We have also a doctoral candidate from Israel, so another applicant, so Iris.
Hello, everyone. I'm Iris. I'm from Israel also. Just a minute, there is no light. Now it's better. I'm also a candidate, and I would like to work on the research of the implication of the reconciliation between the German nation and the Jewish nation. I would like to look if the agreement through the years since the Second World War was having a sense of reconciliation between the German and the Jewish, and if there is also a sense of restorative justice through the years, and to look if the agreements are really helped the people at the first generation who was in Germany and the second generation, and that's it up to now. I'm a lawyer, and I did my master in conventional law, and I hope that I will be a part of this program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So now we have Yubin. Are you with us? If it is not the case, we have Babis, last but not least.
Hello, also from my side. Hi there. Professor Jäger, also welcome from my side. I'm saying hello to you from Berlin currently. Also hello to the rest of the group and the colleagues all over the world, Professor Leiner, Francesco. My name is Charalambos Karpouchis. It's a Greek difficult name, so short it's Babis. This is the short form, the quotes form. So please just call me Babis. I'm a political scientist, and I'm looking at the relationship between Germany and Greece. And I'm looking especially into Greek villages that were destroyed by the Wehrmacht during the occupation of Greece in the Second World War. And what I'm trying to see is how the local level reacts to international politics. So when Germany is doing something to approach these villages and say, send President Gauck to one of the villages to say, I'm sorry for what was done, how do people react in those places regarding Germany, and how does this relationship express itself in politics? So that's what I'm doing. I'm also curious to find out what you are doing. I'm really looking forward to the exchange with you and to learn also new things from you, Professor Jäger. Welcome to the JCRS.
Yes, so thank you.
Yeah,
So much.
great. Thank you, everybody, so much. Maybe there is a question or something Professor Jäger wants to ask somebody, or wants to know something more about individuals or the group as such. I make also a general presentation in Francesco as well on the doctor program and such things, but maybe now just a reaction you would maybe have.
I'm really deeply impressed about the diversity in the interdisciplinary approaches of all of your work. So I would like to talk to each of you more deeply, because it's really, really exciting what all of you are doing. So at the moment you see me just a little bit fascinated.
Yeah, great. There will be opportunities if we meet together again and all these things, and you are very much welcome, Professor Jäger, always here. And now I prepared a kind of introduction to reconciliation studies and as well to the JCRS. I would like to present it now, at least to start. And it's now uploaded already, I think. And for some of you, it might be a repetition or things you know as already. For the new ones, it is probably not. And there is always also an evolution in the basics of the theory. And this is always good to rethink always the theories and the approaches. And therefore, I'm happy to present this now. This makes also quite a time that the last time there was such a good introductory presentation of the JCRS. And I would like now to start, and afterwards we will have also Francesco who will say also a bit about the doctoral program and other elements of JCRS. So here is a bit a kind of icon or symbol for us. We try in presenting us also on the website and other where two main things, that reconciliation is about the re-establishment. Sometimes it's only the establishment because there were never good or normal relationships, but it's often the re-establishment of good and or normal relationships within and after genocides, wars, dictatorships, and others, things which are similar. This is to a very short formula. Of course, we are thinking also about other things like colonialism, which is now an important topic, or like situations where forced displacements took place, and also ecological questions. And even the reconciliation approach can be applied to many things, even including not political processes, or not mainly political processes. For example, in ethics, you have questions like what might it be a reconciled approach to some difficult situations like divorce, or like, for example, also to death. What is a reconciled dying for somebody? And all those things we are interested in. But this is a bit very basic presentation. And the other thing is we have also a motto from the poet Friedrich Hölderlin: reconciliation is in the middle of strife, and everything apart find each other again. So the idea is that you can find reconciliation not only after a fight or a conflict, a violent conflict is ended, and then you make maybe reconciliation. But if you say reconciliation is a reestablishment of good or normal relationships, also in the middle of this conflict, you can start to go for it. There are still human links, there are still legal laws which are respected from both sides. There are still a lot of other things which can be built on to have reconciliation. And this is one side. So we want to start reconciliation already in the middle of strife, which is quite different way to approach it than other scientists who say, no, it's only starting in the post-conflict moment. And the other thing is also we think that the strife is never over, or it may be over in hundreds of years. But if there is a deep conflict, this conflict can be transformed into another level, on a level where you fight politically as political parties against each other, or in non-violent ways, or there are social processes and legal procedures, how things can advance, and it's not anymore killing and dying. And this is, of course, already a lot of success if you go in this way. And we are quite sympathetic with what people call an agonistic approach to reconciliation, which means that reconciliation should never be in the silencing of opposition, but more to create spaces for everybody to participate in the process and to discuss it, but in a respectful and fair way, and in a way where people are also open to compromise. And on this, from this startup one, okay. Okay. So I would like to present you the Jena Center for Reconciliation Studies, what we are and where we are going. And this, I also present a photo of the globe, because we are really lucky that we are a global institute. We have members of the doctoral school coming from a time zone where it's early morning, and others where already night is starting to fall. And if the Koreans would be at home, it was already in the middle of the night. So, and we have networks and partnerships practically everywhere in the world, and everywhere there are conflicts and processes of reconciliation. And this is also something which is very typical for our work. Even if we go also on very local things like following reconciliation processes in East Germany and discussions about how to deal with GDR dictatorship, and all these things are our topics as well. My presentation, or our presentation, will have two parts. First, creating reconciliation studies, what does this mean, where we are, and how will be the next steps. And the other is creating JCRS as an institution. And the structure of this presentation would be that I want to talk about creating a new scientific approach in the field of peace and conflict studies, and also beyond, like in, I told, in examples of ethics or of other questions. And the second main point will be to talk about building also an innovative institution. This was also always our wish, to have an institution that's a bit different from others. And it is different also because it has to be different, because there are not the classical resources of an existing institution where you can just appoint the people, but we had to build it out of nothing, more or less. And this I want also to talk a bit about, and it's also a moment to say also thank you for all of you who cooperated in this. And then I will make a short, very short a SWOT analysis of strengths, weaknesses, of opportunities. This must be an O, not an A, and threats, but very short. And then a conclusion. This SWOT analysis is also already in view of the evaluation we will have to do in the next months, because all 3 years centers are evaluated. This means not that they ask the question whether to continue or not, but they want that we get feedback from our scientific board, what could be better, and that we elaborate also our documents those next months and look into them and become more attentive of new opportunities and also of new possibilities where we should strengthen something, or where we have already enough done so far. So I come to my first part. And after the first part, I will make also a break. Maybe if you have questions or things to add, please note them now, and then we will have a short discussion round, and then we make also a short break, that everybody, we have also this habit, has a moment to cook a coffee and to other things, and then we come back after 10 minutes again. So it's about the vision. So the vision where we want to go is based on the basic ideas that scientific research was very much focused on violence. If you look at the beginnings of history, for example, the first famous books on history in the Greek world were written on wars. The Peloponnesian War and the Persian Wars, and there you found a lot of interest in reconstructing how the war was going on and how it started, and how then the war evolved of course, they have many peaceful insights. Already the very first writings of Herodotus or Thucydides, but the start is war. And also, if you have the myth of many people around the world, it was about the big wars our ancestors had. And this did not change in many regions until now. We still discuss much more on violence and wars and how to win them or to avoid them, but not so much on the positive side. Here the photo is a classical book on La Violencia in Colombia. And it was Luis who made me attentive in the library in Bogota that there are meters of books on the violence in Colombia, but very few on peace building in Colombia. And so we want to focus on the positive side and on how things can go well and succeed. And here we think that there is a much more study needed if we focus on this, how societies can come out of hatred, of violence, of conflict, of revenge, and all these cycles where so many societies are caught in. So we have also since the 1990s, this is normally the beginning of reconciliation studies. In the middle of the 90s, John Paul Lederach wrote his first important book on peace building. And also in the 90s, there were books by theologians working on reconciliation of people. South Africa was there with a lot of publications, and also law scholars started to study, for example, Rwanda, political scientists, Northern Ireland, and all this. And this is, of course, the 90s it started also because we had these famous processes of reconciliation like South Africa, Rwanda, and Northern Ireland in the 90s. And this gave also a new way to read the German history after the Second World War, because the German reunification was also understood by many people, and I think they were right to understand it like this. It would not have been possible without this reconciliation policies Germany adopted from the 50s on and brought different countries closer to them and had good relationships in the 80s to France, to Britain, to Italy, to also to the US, of course, very important, to Israel, also important, especially also because of the US, but even to Poland and the Soviet Union, so that there was a certain trust that they gave their yes to reunification. And this was something people became also more interested in to study how this was possible, and this gave a lot of credit to reconciliation politics. And there the reconciliation studies also took off to start and to become more intensive. And so reconciliation studies have so a double side. They are that we want them to be high-level academic. We do make really efforts that people do not think that it's only some people who want to sit together and to hug each other, and on the other side, but it's also very practical, because it can be in this world, which is very much divided and increasingly divided, be used almost every day, everywhere. And this is, so the idea now, a proposition of reconciliation studies in a more developed way is it's a scholarly description, interpretation, and evaluation of processes of creating normal and, if possible, good relationships. Why this normal and good relationships are written in a quote mark? This is because you can the main measuring of normal and good relationships is by asking the people. And if they say we have no normal relationship and we consider it as good with the Germans or between black and white people and others, so we think there is reconciliation given. Of course, we have also external indicators for it, which are like from forms of interaction, also frequency of interaction, how many people are meeting, and how also cooperative activities can be found. But this is also a field to develop how to evaluate reconciliation processes. But anyhow, this normal and good is of course not something absolute and not something which is very easy to measure. And between whom are these relationships? They are between states, groups, organizations, individuals. So practically all social entities are here of interest. And the fact that they are here of interest means also that we have to work on different levels, which are interacting often as well. And these processes are reacting against past, present, and preventing future grave incidents such as wars, civil wars, genocides, atrocities, forced displacement, enslavement, dictatorship, oppression, colonialism, apartheid, and other human rights violations and injustices. Here's also a bridge to the topic of just peace. So, of course, we find it not real reconciliation if things are called reconciliation, but people are silenced and injustices are perpetuated. I think that reconciliation is just about injustices and to overcome them as good as possible. Of course, we are also knowing that a just world is utopia and it's never happening, but it should become better. There should be increasing justice and increasing inclusiveness in the relationships, and this is where we aim at. And we can also find in a deeper level that there are 5 dimensions of reconciliation, and one is also with oneself. So the thing is not that you reconcile only with another person or another group, but also with yourself. Because it's always being part of the process. You might reconcile with another, but you get problems with yourself because you give up something you are not so at the moment to give something up, or you acted against your convictions. And especially if people are feeling guilty or are victims in a really life-damaging way. So reconciliation with oneself is a long process to work with trauma or to work with losses you cannot repair, and or with guilt you cannot repair anymore. And this is a very important issue, especially in modernity. Is increasingly important, reconciliation with oneself. But of course, you have also to reconcile with others, with individuals, but also with groups or more abstract bodies like others, the state or states. And this is also an issue, and as well with different members of one's own group, because in all reconciliation processes, there are people who are going for reconciliation. There are some others in the own group who say, no, never. We want revenge, or we cannot understand you. You are now a traitor, or this might more or less be pronounced. But with those people, you have also to think about them and the relationship to them when you go for a reconciliation process. And then we also, especially also thanks to Luis, we discovered more and more the environment aspect, because also there is a kind of conflict with nature in imposing to nature industrialization, imposing to nature infrastructures, and degrading nature, that there are many species in extinction, in way of extinction, they're not anymore there, and all these problems. And there could also be a reconciliation approach, especially if you work with indigenous population who are very much linked to this environment, and destruction of environment is practically something like destroying the indigenous community as such, even if the individuals survive and live somewhere else, but they are not anymore what they have been. And of course, we are all living, I call it transcendence, before something which makes the sense of our life, which is what is for us unconditionally important, or we believe in God or religion or in values or something like this. And all these things we are believing in it, we must always also keep in mind and work on reconciliation with this. This can all help, but there can also be different approaches. So we want to go into those different relationships and study them and how they are interacting in the actual situation. And this makes the studies already quite complex. Anyhow, in most cases, reconciliation processes are multifaceted, long-term processes, including many steps and involving very different activities. They require, therefore, a transdisciplinary approach in order to explain why those processes succeed or fail. Transdisciplinary means more than interdisciplinary. Interdisciplinary, so at the definition I agree with, is more that you exchange results as a border of disciplines, and transdisciplinary means you have a common purpose, like reconciliation, and you are going together the process. So you're also going through the methodology of the other disciplines in order to understand better what is the value of this, what has been found out and what not, what are also limits. And I think the strength of JCRS that we have colleagues from the many disciplines, also professors from Jena University, you heard it from law, from political science, from philosophy and sociology, education, religion, and so on, who are contributing. And only by this blessing we have, that we have all these people with us, and also the students and the postdocs from those fields, that we can do this research, because no individual can do this vast topic, but together we can help each other to build in transdisciplinary research. Now, but first part is the point was after the vision, the reality, where we are now. So we know in reconciliation research that the comprehensive transdisciplinary research is required, but there are only a few relevant research results so far. There was not much research reconciliation in many disciplines. We have, for example, developed in Israel mainly a very impressive psychology of group reconciliation, also reconciliation with Palestinians and in the conflict, but it's only social psychology, more or less, what they did. And we have also other islands, for example, in transitional justice, where quite a lot been done. But other areas we have not so much, and it's not so much connected. So, so we have now, Francesco,
yeah.
just had a question from the chat, therefore we had to answer. So, we know also about the potential of the reconciliation approach to almost every social and ethical question, but there But here as well, we have famous models for this comprehensive philosophical theory. Most impressive and complicated is Hegel's philosophy of reconciliation, but as well Hölderlin, Schelling, or also Adorno, all four quite different. But also here is not so much done, so there is also not a philosophy which we can already completely build on. But here again, we have authors like Derrida or Ricoeur or Martin Buber who help us to understand aspects of reconciliation. So, then something which is also quite clear, we have this interdisciplinarity. We can make it also a bit more clear how much is belonging to it. So we have governments, for example, who want more acceptance in population, or individuals who want a healthier body. This could be an example or like a metaphor for how reconciliation works. If you have such a goal, you will never succeed in using one method or one approach. If a government wants more acceptance, they cannot only say we make better social politics for the poor people and we make a better presentation in the media. So you have already two things, but they will not be enough. They have to do other things as well, that people are happy with education, that different problems maybe in the legal system are avoided, that things like corruption are attacked and other things. So you have to do a lot of different things to get a change. And although if you want a healthier body, you cannot just run and become a runner. This is very healthy for many things, but it's not very healthy, for example, for your bones and other things. So you should also combine it with other measures, also maybe eat differently and sleep more or whatever to get a better shape and a better condition for your body. And the same thing is for many things through, and also for reconciliation. Reconciliation is not just to do a single thing, but many. And you get much better results if you are doing the right things at the right time. And sometimes even quite small activities have enormous effects. Like, for example, Willy Brandt kneeling in the ghetto of Auschwitz was a symbolic act with not so much, which did not cost so much time and preparation and money, but it has an effect that he became like an icon for another German approach to the atrocities of the Nazi time for many people. And many other small things can make a lot of change. There are, of course, also other things which must be big and cost a lot of money, but you have to find out what is the real intervention. I quote also Eran Helporain, an Israeli psychologist who works especially on those micro interventions, and he found a set of quite interesting micro things which you can also make quite a fast change in. So we can develop something like a list of different fields where you have a lot of different practices. Which have a role in reconciliation. I do not want to read them now, or you also receive also the PowerPoint after this session. You can, we'll send it to you. You see, they must work on the military or the security forces, and if there's a civil war, there must anyhow be disarmament, demobilization, reintegration, this famous DDR. But you have also to work on other things like on education, for example, the field where Natalie Manco is working on this new chair of peace. So there is a teacher teaching peace into schools in Colombia. This is something which came with the peace treaty, a new innovative idea. Or to work on school book reform. And you can also go to other areas of society. Even the list is not complete. And none of the point, but everywhere things play a role. Trauma therapy, we have Judita as a trauma therapist. If people are deeply traumatized, many steps are not possible for reconciliation, and there must first be something else. And as we know this now, we cannot just ask people or think that people will start directly with reconciliation. And we could add other fields and other things, and other mistakes can be made. And I would just like to show you a recent mistake. Here, Emmanuel Macron. I like him very much, also because he was an assistant of Paul Ricoeur, and also because he has a lot of dynamic ideas, and he saved a bit France also from Le Pen and other things. But nevertheless, he made declarations which I admire, that he said in 2005, colonialism was a crime against humanity. And so people were listening and thought, yeah, what will happen now? Normally, if you declare this, you have to do a lot of things. You have to think about reparations, you have to apologize publicly, you have to think also about guilt, and maybe even prosecute some of the perpetrators, even if it's a long time ago. The last French colonies, however, were not so long ago, and you can even consider some of the territories of France as still colonies, like Nouvelle Caledonie and other parts. And all this, for example, this, nuclear bomb tests there, people could think this was like a colonial violence activity. But nothing really happened. The only thing he did, and this is also a good thing, that there was so far this report written by this very friendly lady. It's Benedict Savoy, professor in Berlin, and also somebody I met last year, and we are cooperating with, and we are planning to do more about this topic. They wrote this report on restitution of objects in museums. And there is now a real effort to give them back, because many have been stolen or at least acquired until non-fair and just conditions. And then in 2000, but not much else happened. And the crime against humanity is not just, imagine the Germans would have said after the genocide, we are thinking about giving back some objects which have been stolen from Jewish persons. And slowly we give them back, and the rest we don't care anymore about. So this is really not keeping what has been promised by such a claim. And the same thing also with, in 2020, he talked about reconciliation with Algeria should not take place. There were also some heads which had been cut off of people who were in opposition against the colonialism and were killed. The French killed their heads and brought them to France. They were sent back. But still now, some of his co-workers said publicly there's no apology planned. But only they want a commission of memories and truths, which shall be organized by some scholars. This is also a good thing, of course, again. But we think the results of this process might be quite ambiguous, because people expect more. And in the end, people would not appreciate the good things enough, what has been done, and especially criticize what is lacking, and that things did not happen as they should, and it can break up many other problems in this discourse. And therefore, I think it's important to study reconciliation as this complex process, and how to sequence things to do, and how things can really proceed. This is just one example of hundreds people could give, how reconciliation processes are sometimes working relatively well, even if things are lacking, but they are calling the next steps. German reconciliation with Greece, for example, brought up the issue of reparations, and this is now still a big obstacle, as Babis is researching also about. Now, the next steps for reconciliation studies. The last point I will talk on before the discussion round and the break. So I see 5 special tasks for reconciliation studies in the near future. I presented them also in the organization of the International Association. First, to further establish reconciliation in each discipline as an important topic with high quality research, because many people cannot just make a transdisciplinary research, and every individual will work more or less in one discipline, maybe in contact with 1 or 2 others, but it will not be the whole picture. This will take, nobody can do this, but it will be some people who will build on the many studies, if they have been written one day, and comprehensive view that we can take some results, and some short results already and now can be published on this. And second, to clarify cooperation and relationships to neighboring and overlapping scientific projects such as transitional justice, conflict resolution, conflict transformation, mediation, or peace studies, which are projects which are overlapping in many fields with the things we are doing, and there are still a lot of misunderstandings about those relationships. There's also a lot of competition and some unnecessary fights between these approaches, and but there is also a lot of cooperation already existing, and a lot of inspiration between those approaches. Then transdisciplinary cooperation, it's a new field. We do not know so much how it functions, and we must work on epistemology and philosophy. And fourth, we have also to cooperate with other transdisciplinary projects, which are also overlapping with reconciliation, because there is reconciliation often very important with refugee studies, because refugees have a strong need for reconciliation, which is often not addressed. Heritage studies, although many conflicts on heritage, and they can also be resolved better if you have a reconciliation approach. We made 2 big conferences on those 2 topics with Armina. And then memory studies, of course, as well. Memories are conserving often the hurts of the past, the injustices of the past, and how to approach memories and how to develop them dialogically and to expression, and all these questions. What about false memories or of lacks of memories because of trauma, and all these things are important things. Also, who can speak himself, who gets a voice, often also gender issues that women are not so much asked until now. Now it's much better, but often there were others speaking for the victims, and then we have post-colonial studies, which are also very much influencing on what we are doing. And then we should also show already some practical results, some best practices approaches to consult governments, NGOs, communities, and who wants to have it. So this is things I think society can already ask for, and we will have it soon, and have already published some things. Also the colleagues in South Africa, for example, in the Institute of Justice and Reconciliation, published very valuable contributions on this. Then we have, I want to go a bit deeper in one special topic, religions and reconciliation. I do not want to take too much time, but just because it's a bit my topic, also because I come from Protestant theology. There's one important point, that there has been the discoveries of religion as resource for reconciliation. The second point would be that there is a spirituality of reconciliation, also as a trans-religious experience and beyond. And then there is also in the theory of religion, there is an approach, it's also Hegel's tradition that religion is all about reconciliation, to reconcile, for example, with contingencies like death or like injuries, like losses, like guilt, and all these things, and how to reconcile with life, with the end of life, and with things which are maybe difficult. And this is, of course, only be possible on the ground of the positive things like gratefulness for creation and for happy experiences of love, of communion, of solidarity, and so on. So this would be my sense of 3 points. I developed here some ideas also, just going through it. So until not far time ago, there were televisions like in the US, religion as source of violence, rise in religious hostilities, and you have everywhere where it's read a lot of new religious hostilities, but this approach, of course, has been also criticized because you see as well that there are many other reasons for violence, and violence is not often directly a consequence of the religion. Sometimes it's reactive, sometimes it's also instrumentalist interpretations, like a religion is used for other goals, political goals, or is an identity marker, and therefore they are fighting each other, but it's not about religious contents. So Protestant and Catholics were not did not have their fight on how we see the dogmas on the Virgin Mary and on the justification by faith alone, but it was on other issues on land, on influence, on social justice, and on belonging either to Ireland or to the UK. This were the issues, and they were. And the identity marker was religion, but it was not religious violence. So we have all those points. Then there are a lot of religious resources for peace. Also activism in public, the public sphere. This connects also well with Professor Jäger's interest in public and church and public life and the public role. And we have as well here also some special benefits of religious leaders, that they are trusted, local, sustainable, influential, committed, and international connected. This is why we are pleading for working much more with religious leaders for peace-building initiatives around the world. But you have, of course, to identify the right ones. And then you have here some research questions. I just go it through a bit further. Then we have also the fact that many religious leaders are now talking about interconnectedness, forgiveness, empathy, and even reconciliation. This can be Buddhist, this can be Jewish, this can be Muslims, this can be Hindus. Everywhere we find these concepts, and we can also go it through different 5 dimensions. And in this presentation, I also have some pictures about common mourning. So I think a typical role of religion is also to express and to deal with the losses which cannot be repaired. And in Rwanda, we have every year 1 month in April, this Kwibuka month, which is a month under the motto Remember, Unite, Renew, where in this different villages people come together very often every evening to talk about the genocide and how this idea Remember, Unite and renew can happen. And here is a photo also of a celebration and in Rwanda for this month, for April. And now I'm finished with this first part, and I would like to ask you maybe for some reactions or questions, but maybe as we have not so much time, we limit it to a quarter of an hour. The discussions, but of course, everything you write me, either in the chat or either via email, every comment will be welcome and will be also have reactions and consequences and discussions what you wish. So thank you very much for your attention for this part.
So let's open the debate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Benjamin. Thank you. We're back to the Sarah Jäger.
So here we are.
Is it my turn now? I'm not sure. Thank you very, very much, Professor Leiner, for the presentation. I've not really two questions, but I would like to mark two interesting points for me at the moment. Perhaps that will be enough. The connection between reconciliation studies and religion, especially in the question of spirituality, I find very exciting, and I would like to discuss this point with you. And I think a lot of projects you told me about are linked to this subject too. And the other point I find very interesting is the question of reconciliation in Germany after World War II, especially in Germany itself, not in the case of foreign politics, but the question, how can neighbors live together again after all the things that have happened? So these 2 points I would like to deepen with you. Thank you.
Yeah, this is great. This is very interesting. And I know that you are very much also interested in spirituality of peace, and you did a lot on this, and this is very much connecting us. And yeah, as well, Germany's case has really to be studied in all senses, and there are a lot of discoveries which are not so old and not so much known, still to be made. How to interpret it, for example, those silence in the German society in the 50s, and how to assess it, for example, but many other issues as well. So thank you very much. So is there another question? If not, we can also make the break. It's also, as we have so much things, so I think Sinat has a question. Yeah.
Thank you for this amazing presentation, but I want you to clarify a little bit about the connection between refugee studies and reconciliation, because some refugees are not in fighting with with the communities. I mean, local communities like Syrian refugees in Lebanon. We can talk about social cohesion. I cannot talk about reconciliation. Can you clarify more about your interest in these studies?
So, as reconciliation has as many dimensions, I found out in discourses with refugees, and then this was also confirmed by other people who looked into this, that the reconciliation with oneself is often a problem for refugees, because they regret that they left what they left behind. Maybe they left family members behind, which are now in their difficult situation, or they abandoned a cause, or their village, their neighborhood, they abandoned also fighting for something in their country. And all these things often give feelings of guilt. Or I met people who told me that when coming over the Mediterranean Sea, they lost family members, and they are feeling deeply guilty that they were guiding them to the ships and that we want to go there, and some of them died. And so there is a lot of need for healing and reconciliation with oneself in refugees, which is often not at all a public topic in the countries who are hosting them. They are often thinking more about them in terms of dangerous people or something like this, or threats. And then, in addition to this, sometimes we have different groups of refugees which were even enemies in the civil war, and they are living now sometimes close to each other, and this can also create some need of reconciliation. Also, there could be ongoing issues and fighting somewhere. Fortunately, there was not so much as expected with the Syrian refugees in Germany, but nevertheless, there were some fightings. Also in Jena, there was two groups of Syrians having a kind of fighting a bit corporally, and the police had to come close to a mosque in Jena because they got into disputes about politics. So those things happen, and this is the thing with reconciliation. But there can also be, of course, reconciliation with hosting society, and also reconciliation when they come back. This is also often very difficult because they come back in a changed country, in a changed place. And for example, in the Balkans, we had the experience that after the Yugoslavia wars in the 90s, there was everybody was granted the right to return to his place where they lived before, but only so about 30% really stayed there because it was not anymore easy to live there. There was, of course, there was also unemployment, and some went there from time to time. So if you add those, we get a bit more percentage, maybe half of them. But many found no sense, for example, to go back to Srebrenica if you are Muslim. Srebrenica is now part of the Republika Srpska, and how shall you live now with the neighbors which are now there? This was dangerous. And then if you want this right to return, you need a reconciliation process. And I think also the Syrians, when they go back, if they go back, I know a lot of Syrians who even don't speak Arabic anymore because they are so much done with all the society and all this world. They want to stay in Germany or wherever they can stay. But if they have to go back, if some German policy pushes them to go back, or if they are they want to go back, this must be accompanied, this process, and with reconciliation measures, so that there will be not new violences and new traumatisms for the refugees coming back, or for those who are now maybe in their houses. So this is the issues we are, why we are talking about reconciliation, and the use of the word of reconciliation, of course, will not always be very good to use this word reconciliation, because in some societies it's misunderstood. But in science, we talk about reconciliation studies because it's also this approach I tried a bit to summarize now. But if you come to some context, people, if they hear reconciliation, they say we do not want it because it has been abused. For example, in Latin America by dictatorships who just wanted amnesty and enjoy their pensions and have no problems after having a military dictatorship. So they spoke about reconciliation and it was not good, or they made reconciliation processes like in Morocco, for example, but they were very deficient in many aspects. Was, for example, not allowed to speak about King Hassan II, who was behind many of the injustices which were done. So that those people might not like so much the word of reconciliation is clear. So we use another like cohesion or finding together again, or convivencia, or whatever will be fitting for the people better. So maybe we make now the break.
Yes.
And we come back again in
at 3:40. So
3:40, so in a bit more than 5 minutes, because we have only until 4:30 time. So we want a bit to present the institution. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. I would like to present the JCRS as a center in general, also with just some general information, also with the same structure. This will now be a bit more practical things. The vision is, of course, to build this Center for Reconciliation Studies with this new innovative field, and to put these results on the table so that people can see whether they are interested in or not. So we are not active in reconciliation processes as a center. Maybe some of you are active in reconciliation processes. I have been, but we are making clearly the difference of research and want that to offer what we find out to everybody, individuals, religious communities, NGOs, cities, states, or the UN. And there was also, then in the inauguration of the International Association, spoke Professor Kieran Berg. You might have been present at this moment or not, and he has a very interesting claim that he said this reconciliation should become a standard for governments, because if we take seriously the ban of war through UN Charter and the notion of acting in good faith, so governments who act in good faith today must do some diplomatic efforts to avoid a war. This is already somehow standard, but it's not a standard that they work on overcoming all the past grievances and creating good or normal relationships with the others. There have even been strong counterexamples where taking part in a peace initiative, for example, was under punishment and punished by law in, for example, in countries like Azerbaijan and Armenia, and such things should be different. And so he thought he made, in this legal field, he is an international professor for international law. He will elaborate this claim that there should be also an evolution at this point. And of course, also personally, the motivation is to make the world a more peaceful place with deeper understanding and more love between all the people. This is my personal motivation, but it's in an indirect way. We make research, and those who take it can have some results of it. So we have so an institution with also a special approach. We want to create a space for researchers to develop research proposals and also partly to create their own positions. And we have quite had some successes. For example, Francesco Ferrari got very likely a long-term position in this Martin Buber project, or Dr. Ayadajani and Luis Peña got also through the Amina project now new employments from the 1st of February on, and this is especially interesting for postdoctoral students that to the support of the center and also the possibility to apply for European and German funding and having all this background. They're applying for a research project where some positions can be there which help to finance finalizing habilitation and other things. And this is also for us the only way to function because we have no own positions. And we want to create also, this is one side, to create this good space for people to develop their own research from very different disciplines, and the other one is also to create possibilities to study reconciliation everywhere where we can. So we started much more to develop BA and MA programs in the MENA region, especially to this Academic Alliance for Reconciliation Studies in the Middle East and North Africa. This is Armenia. And we want also more and more create digital resources which are there for learning reconciliation. Since 2013, we have already a YouTube channel, and we want this making available so that people can just consult also presentations and also the best specialists around the world, that they see how they talk about reconciliation studies. And this will be also built much more on, because people are talking about a digital revolution also in education, that much of education, especially high school education and life learning education, will be very much on digital media, and it will be become in the next 5-10 years, it will boost enormously. And classical education in presence with one teacher teaching something which will be often probably partly replaced by offers by an artificial intelligence device which gives you exactly the information on the basis of a small test what you already know, how you can go ahead from the point you are to know more about the topic you want to know. And these things will be more and more available in the future. And this is a big chance. It's a big chance because we can spread our ideas much more effectively around the world and with much less money. And we have also the opportunity to reach out to regions of the world where just people have a phone, a smartphone, and that's it. They're not having access to universities or something like this. So this will also be something for the next years. And the reality is, so what we did, we started with summer schools. We had a lot of fun to have them and liked them a lot with scholars from around the world, young scholars, experienced scholars, practitioners on reconciliation. Then we started as a center, and then we got the first big research-funded project, the Heart of Flesh Not Stone project. We started the doctoral school, Religion, Conflict, Reconciliation. Then we started the Academic Alliance for Reconciliation Studies in the Middle East and North Africa with biannual conferences, with a website which is online today, a special website. And we have also EFG and EU funded project also for this Armenia, which is a special entity within the JCRS, especially for this region. And also we had the foundation of the International Association for Reconciliation Studies in 2020 here in Jena. And then I come now to the activities, and I hand over to the coordinator of the JCRS, Francesco Ferrari, who will continue on this point.
Thank you very much, Professor Leiner. So as you can see at your screen, so we have 4 main areas of the JCRS: the graduate program, Religion, Conflict, Reconciliation, the DFG project, Hearts of Flesh Not Stone, Education and Trainees, and the series of publications, Research in Peace and Reconciliation, RIPAR. Let me introduce you the structure of the JCRS as an institution. So the JCRS, as Professor Leiner was saying, is a center established in 2013 as a center, as a research center that belongs to the University of Jena. It has an advisory board, which consists of 7 persons. Each of them are key experts on reconciliation topics. So they are both from academia and also from high levels of the civil society and governmental organizations. So Professor John Brewer, Dr. Lili Gartner-Feldman, Professor Pumla Gobodo-Madikizela, the Bishop Wolfgang Huber, Professor Hans Joas, Philip McDonagh, and Dr. Cesare Zucconi. So they are all very important personalities in the world of peace and reconciliation studies. And then we have the professors from Jena University that are part of JCRS. And we have currently 20 professors from very different disciplines and from very different faculties. So Professor Martin Leiner is the founder and the director of the center. Then Professor Dr. Bertram Schmitz, chair of religious studies, is the associate director, together with Professor Dr. Nikolaus Knopfler, who is also the head of the Center for Applied Ethics in Jena. And then we have many professors, as you can see, from theological faculty, but also law, economy, history, psychology, sociology, education, social geography, philosophy, Spanish. So those professors are, from one side, interested in working on reconciliation as a topic, and from the other side are also available for the PhD students to supervise their research. So this list is important also to understand to which extent the concept of reconciliation is well established in the University of Jena. The JCRS lives through its researchers. So we have postdocs and PhD students. So the postdocs and the PhD students are participating in semester time to our Ober seminar. And they are participating to the many activities of the JCRS. So the postdocs are more free to move and to participate when they want to the activities, and also to provide teaching activities. And the PhD students have the same freedom of movement, so it is not mandatory to live in Jena for the PhD students. It is recommended to be in Jena at least one semester during the PhD time. And now with digital technologies Professor Leiner was mentioning before, we are all connected, I would say, all quite good via Zoom, so that our teleteaching activities actually will take place also in the future, hopefully in a world where they are not necessary because of Corona, but they are a powerful device that we can take advantage of it even in a Corona-free world. So here we have a doctoral program that I think you know all quite good. So Religion, Conflict, Reconciliation is the name of a doctoral program. It is the first of its kind in Germany that studies conflict resolution and reconciliation processes and strategies with a focus on comparative analysis and best practices. So what we have currently are more than 10 PhD students from around the world, actually almost 20 in the meanwhile. So this doctoral program I coordinate since 2015 has been really blossomed in the last semesters. And now I'm happy to see that we have doctoral students from very different disciplines and from very different areas, so that we cover practically reconciliatory issues from all over the world, and we've contributed with very diverse disciplines with an holistic approach. The networks of JCRS, so no human being is an island, and also no research center is an island. So we are connected with similar institutions all over the 5 continents. We have some memorandum of understandings with many institutions. As you can see now, I'm not going to read this list, but you can see that those institutions are from Ireland to Colombia, through South Korea, the MENA region, Japan. So JCRS is part of a worldwide network, and those networks are also very useful for our researchers, for our PhD students. If you want to have a research stay or to have a contact with an expert from a certain area, those institutions are also available for you. In particular, we have the MENA network. So in the MENA region, which comprehends 18 institutions that are focusing on reconciliation studies in the Middle East and North Africa, the European Network for Reconciliation Research, the German-speaking Network for Reconciliation Research. So as you can see, it's also a kind of matryoshka that we have. We are here based in the Eastern Germany. We are related with other German-speaking institutions from Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, with a network that is meeting once a year. We have then a kind of European network. Then we have also singular memorandum of understandings. And then our cherry on the top, so to say, is the International Association for Reconciliation Studies that was officially established last summer, in summer 2020. And through the initiative of Professor Leiner, Professor Carino Corostellina, and Professor Toyomi Asano. So it is an association that aims at building bridges and promoting dialogue across different approaches to reconciliation, to further develop the understanding of reconciliation in a transdisciplinary perspective. And something important for JCRS is a multiple level of networking that involves not only universities, but also NGOs and organizations. So when we work about reconciliation, we are not dealing with something that has merely a theoretical consistence, but on the opposite, we are working on something that is about the human fabric. It is something that is tangible and visible, like very few other concepts. Actually, it is not a concept, it's a practice. It's something that is continuously happening. Therefore, NGOs are very important to guarantee also a kind of a connection with the societies where reconciliatory processes are taking place. And some of the organizations we are working with are the Community of Sant'Egidio, the Network for Religious and Traditional Peacemakers, the International Center for Transitional Justice, the Organization for Cooperation in Europe, the KAICID Dialogue Center in Vienna, Vasatilla in Palestine, the La Fundación para la Reconciliación in Colombia, and the Martin Springer Center. So we are also connected with some of the most important personalities that made the history of reconciliation. So here we have, for instance, the encounter of Professor Leiner with Archbishop Desmond Tutu in South Africa in 2014. Also, another friend of JCRS, Professor Christo Tesner, was present. Or another example is also the Bishop John Rusciana from Rwanda, who participated also to the establishment of our International Association for Reconciliation Studies last summer. We have also some important research projects. So we have, for instance, the trilateral project Hearts of Flesh Not Stone, a trilateral between Germany, Israel, and Palestine. The innovative focus of this project is about the recognition of the places of memory of the other group, of places of memory that many times are also characterized by sorrow, by terrific memories related with them, like concentration camps or the places of the Nakba. And the issue and the hypothesis of the project is to which extent encountering the suffering of the other might lead to develop empathy and willingness to reconcile in long protracted conflict, like the one between Israel and Palestine. Education and trainings. So as we have seen also before, everything started with the summer schools, Societies in Tradition, that started in 2008. Then we have our doctoral program, you know very well. We have constantly guest lectures, workshops, panel discussions, so also through our network. Here we have some pictures of the events. So here, for instance, is a visit of a Buchenwald concentration camp, which, by the way, is on the hills of Weimar, just a quarter of an hour away from Jena. So for those that will visit us in Jena, it is a very close memorial. And here it is the visit that Palestinian students were doing in the time of a trilateral project, as well as here it is a visit to Berlin, so the history of World War II and the foundations of Europe, 2017. And all those experiences, those exchanges and events remain, so as you know, verba volant, scripta manent, and here we have some scripta, some books that store the knowledge of JCRS. Books like the series REPAR, so Research in Peace and Reconciliation. Recently, it has appeared also the 5th volume on reconciliatory processes in the former Yugoslavia and in Caucasus. We have then the collection of essays, Alternative Approaches in Conflict Resolution, edited by Professor Leiner and Christine Schließer from the Center of Ethics of Zurich University. We have also a volume about the issue of reconciliation in Thuringia. So we are thinking in very cosmopolitic terms, but we are also dealing with an history that confronts us every day in the real place where we are. So Jena, city in Thuringia, so in the former GDR. So what is very important in reconciliation studies is to think at the same time global and local. And then we have obviously some publications from our postdocs, so like the successful dissertations of the PhD and also some research during the postdoc time. So now, before that I give the word back to Professor Leiner about the next steps of JCRS, I can also show shortly, quickly, our website, whose contents has been updated last summer. We got a new website that is follows quite faithfully the contents of the presentation I delivered you now. For those that are not familiar, it might be a good opportunity now to become familiar with our website. Now I'm setting the screening, the sharing of the screen with the website. One moment. So I guess I need to go out, or maybe just to make a break, and then to select the yes, here we are. So now I think you are also seeing our website. As you can see, there is a news feed about the newest activities. Here, for instance, it is the news is about a conference that is a workshop that is taking place next week with Dr. Joseph Böhle from Birmingham University. Then the calendar of our activities is also always present in the homepage.
Francisco, we cannot see it on, it's not, you're not sharing it with us.
Okay, thank you.
You have to take out the view options and then take it again.
Ah, I see.
Okay? Thank
Now
you.
it works, I guess.
Sorry.
Oh, now it's working.
Now it's working.
Yes, it is.
Great. Thank you. So then I repeat shortly, when you land to our website, first you get information about upcoming events. Then there is a timetable of our current semester with activities of a seminar. I can also open it shortly. So it's practically a kind of summary of activities that are taking place. And then going back to our homepage, there is a kind of introduction to the center, so to reconciliation studies in Jena, and the 4 areas of expertise I was mentioning before are also present here. So research, networks, events, publications, the doctoral school, our DEFGE project, also our project from Martin Buber, the long-term project that Professor Leiner also was mentioning, is also here. It will start in April 21. The networks, a very important page is also the archive with our previous events that I open it quickly. Here it's like the history of JCRS, so you can go and through this accordion menu, you can see also some pictures of our events, and then quite an impressive list of activities. Also the Colombian days that are taking place every year, guest lectures from professors from all over the world, from Japan, from New Zealand, from Italy, from Lebanon. So all the main activities that the JCRS hosted since its foundation can be found here. Going back to our homepage, then publications, as I was saying, then there is also a page, what is reconciliation about, that allows to know more information. It can be something useful for those that are applying to our doctoral school. So you can find some general information about reconciliation, practices reconciliation involve, and takes into account. So, and which is the JCRS peculiar approach to reconciliation, namely the Hölderlin perspective. Professor Leiner was also mentioning a couple of hours before. Then we have our staff, so the board of directors, the advisory board. We have obviously our team. I open also this page that I think it's important. So our team consists, as I was saying, of a transdisciplinary and international team. So Prof. Leiner is our director. I'm the coordinator of JCRS on the doctoral school. David Tacchini is the associate director of the doctoral school. Marita Klaus is our secretary. Then we have postdocs. So Dr. Ayad Al-Dajani, Dr. Zena Barakat, Dr. Colleen O'Brien, Dr. Luis Peña, Dr. David Tacchini, Dr. Jean-Marc Tetin, Dr. Laura Villanueva, Dr. Andre Zemperburg, and 15 doctoral students from all over the world, as well as our former scientific collaborators and our alumni. So we are old enough to have been already some former members that have become successfully professors in very high-ranked institutions. So the association I was mentioning before, then a gallery with pictures from our key events, and last but not least, our contact and our channels. We have a Facebook page that is updated on a regular basis, as well as a YouTube channel with many video materials. It is definitely possible that teleteaching is the future of didactics, and in our YouTube channel, we were already storing videos in the remote 2013 since our foundation. So this was the presentation of the JCRS as an institution. Now I'm happy to give the word back to Professor Leiner for some last slides. Before I think I need to give the screen sharing now back to the PowerPoint. Okay, one moment. So here we are. Can you see the PowerPoint now? Great. Okay.
Yes, it's okay.
Nice.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much, Francesco. Francesco is very, very important for our institute because he does so many things and has so many capacities, also coordinating, and also this wonderful website is also his product. he's breathing deeply. Yeah, it was a bit difficult to build it, but
it's always impossible until you start.
This is a quote of Mandela.
Yes.
So just the next steps and a few remarks. So in 2021, 2 bigger projects will start. So the Martin Buber Correspondence Edition, officially from the 1st of April on. There will be also a Martin Buber Forschungsstelle here in Jena, founded, and it will be funded by the Academy of Science and Mind, or through the Academy in Mainz. Money comes, of course, from the land and also from BMBF. And from the Goethe University of Frankfurt are also our partners. We have also partners in the National Library in Israel, where the archive of Martin Buber is, and also a professor from Boston. And yeah, and this will be a project for 24 years because there are so many correspondents here that we have a lot of work, and we can do this from here, and this will start. And of course, there will be also a beautiful inauguration of it. We do not know yet when, but we know already one famous guest will be the Minister President Ramelow, who wrote me that he wants to be with us for the inauguration, and also other famous people might come. And then we have another famous project which will now start, the Amina, about building MA and BA studies at universities in the following places: the University of Gaza, Istiklal, the University of Jordan, and of Petra in Jordan, and also of El-Wed and Sétif II in Algeria. And this will also be the focus of the activities of many of us, and especially also of Iyad Al-Najani, who also, I think, joined recently also our chat. Maybe
yes.
a bit later he can also say something to it, but I finished first my presentation. So I have then 2021. So we start to produce new digital resources to teach reconciliation. Some of you already presented books on reconciliation, and there is also a date where we will record some of the presentations. Francesco, can you remind us the date I have in the mind, or later we can see this when it will be? And this Amina project will also include a new doctoral program, which will be especially on the MENA region. So it's only for people who are writing on the MENA region could join this program, and there will be people with stipends coming from the 6 universities who are partners, and at the same time they will assist in building MA or BA programs in the universities together with their professors. So it's a bit a special topic, and it would be too specialized to join us with this doctoral group in the RCR, which is remaining as it was and continuing as it was. And but with new doctoral students, there will something new start. And then we have also planned to have a conference in Istanbul, planned also very much by Güneş Dasli, and there we will also go with different of us. And the same thing in August to the 2nd conference of the International Association for Reconciliation Studies in Tokyo. We hope we can go there and we can see with Japan at this moment. It will be great to be there. We want also to build more internship programs, to have some people who can come here to get internship, and also conversation to get some fundings maybe for this, and also got some funding for the guest researcher program, because the most interesting researchers around the world want to come to Jena, like Professor Karina Costellina, or Toyomi Asano, or Fanny Dutoit, who want to even write a book here. But we need also a bit of funding and to help for their stays, that it's not too expensive for them. And this is also on its way. So a short SWOT analysis. Strengths are, this is a new academic field with clear and big social impact. So we have this joy to build a new field. I think this is academia, it's the most interesting thing you can do. You can, our center is globally known and has global networks and partners and even friends, because I find the field of reconciliation research, the people are friendlier than in other fields often. I was living already, and have really very good friends. And so it's also the only research institute for reconciliation in continental Europe. Others are existing in the US. Now, very important, Marie Hoch Center is George Mason University, for example. In UK, we have the master program in Winchester University, or we have in Ireland places to study reconciliation, in Japan, in South Africa, in Israel, and so on. But in the remaining European Union, it's only Ireland and us so far, and others are now starting some activities, like Bonn University, for example, but they are not yet really started. Then we host the only PhD program on peace building in the MENA region now, which will start now with the Armena program, and also one of the largest edition projects in Germany with the Martin Buber digital edition. I think also one of our strengths is the motivation, that it's high and it's a new approach. It's a space to evolve and to receive support. So the center is not a center with hierarchical structures or strong hierarchical structures. It's more a space created to develop something about reconciliation, which must be high level, and there will be support by me, by others, by the institutions. The group is a wonderful support, and this is also very strong. Everybody helps each other in many ways, because everybody has different gifts and competences. Strong cooperation in university with our 21 members. I counted one more, I don't know whom I had more now. Then we have strong researchers in doctoral program and postdocs. This is you. We have a strong academic board, beautiful new website. We have also many research proposals we are presenting to DFG, to European Union, often big million projects. We submitted recently with South African colleagues, also a graduate program with economists and other colleagues. Weaknesses is things we have not yet positioned finance from the university or the land. So all our positions come from the chair of ethics, and there are not much, it's just a secretary and a half position for an assistant, and by research funds. So this is, I think, a weakness, because you are stronger if you have really positions where people stay for a long time. We are working on this and discussing this, and some people in the university want it, others not so much, and we will see how this will continue. But we have special opportunities. New opportunities are given by the International Association and also by the digital means. And we have the threads, of course, that we have now really a leading position, I would even say worldwide, on this topic, together with others, which are other strengths. But of course, if there's not so much investment in it, we have not, for example, the time so much to publish, because we make a lot of organization and work and management work and writing proposals. I think especially also about Francesco and me, for example. But yeah, others could, with more resources, of course, take the lead. maybe this will happen, maybe not. We will see how things will go on. But I think the most important is that there are much more strengths and weaknesses and more opportunities and threats. And there is always a lot to do for us in places where reconciliation is needed. And only if you ask a question how you can bring more reconciliation in something, there are so many topics we could work for. And I am looking every day forward to reconciliation studies and to do this. And I thank you very much for your time and your attention. So this was. Yeah, thank you. It was really a long presentation.
Thank you very much.
And yeah, but thank you. Maybe this was not only a repetition, but also new things for everybody who were in it, and for some there were quite a lot of new things. And yeah, thank you for being with us. And yeah, we have some 10 minutes left. Maybe somebody would like to say something, to ask something, to react. And I think we will officially finish because Sarah Jäger, who is our guest and for whom we do this finally, has only time until 4:30. And afterwards, I stay online if there are some questions. Also with Benjamin, we can also maybe stay in the chat. Francesco said yes, so we can also do it by this way. But the official will be ended in 9 minutes now. So maybe would somebody like to take the word and say something? Normally sessions are more dialogical, also sorry for this time.
Okay, meanwhile, I make just a precision that the digital day is the 19th of February. So if you want to tape your presentation, 19th of February is the day. You should know it already from the email that we're circulating. So, and send me a message if you wish to present so that I can insert you in the schedule. So let's open the debate now.
Benjamin wanted to say
something. Dear Professor Weiner and Francesco, thank you very much for this. I'm just hear about all those activities, wonderful activities, and just want to put some attention maybe to Professor Jäger about our association that we are now on the last steps in organizing our conference, our second conference. The first conference was on reconciliation in Ukraine. It's steps in mostly into the East Europe. To this region that's has very problematic conflicts right now, and so we have. I'm today also speak with my colleague from Psychological Association that can join us in our association, and I would like you also send about our association, about our international association that already include representations from 5 continents. So it's also that's a small point, and thank you again.
Thank you, this is great. Benjamin is a great advertiser for this association. And yeah, I think it's a good thing, the association. It provides a lot of inspiring contacts and resources and support. And we hope to go with quite a lot of people to Tokyo in August, directly after the Olympic Games. But we hope that it will happen and that we can travel. Abdelghani, was it a sign that you want to ask something?
First of all, thank you for this interesting presentation and the information we got. And I'd like to ask a little question about can we apply for the conference? Can we submit our proposal or idea about participating in a conference while we are still preconditioned student, yani, or we wait till we become students?
So yes, you can apply for presenting. It's, and there is on the website soon a procedure how you can apply, and it will be decided by different people and by a board which will be accepted. So it's not 100% clear that you can present in the Tokyo conference, because there is a procedure and there will be a lot of presentations, but you think you have a good chance and you can present a paper there.
Okay,
and,
can we focus on or choose a part of our proposal, a thesis to present on?
This is a good question, because of course you can present it, but if you want to publish it, it's not allowed. Your PhD must only contain non-published content. So if you have a PhD for the habilitation, it's no problem to have it published, but you should not publish this. And as there might be an opportunity to publish it, I would say better to present something which is maybe a side product of your PhD or another field where you are also strong, but not just maybe the main chapter of your dissertation. That would be so. But if you do not want to publish it and to keep it for you, it would also be a possibility. But so you had a chance to publish.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any questions. So I would like to give the last word to Sarah Jäger, and thank you very much to be with us and for her time. And I say already goodbye to everybody, and those who want to stay with me, like Benjamin will stay on the Zoom, and the others, all good wishes, and for some I will also answer emails.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to all of you. It was very interesting, and I would like to meet again with you. And Professor Leiner, I will write you an email. Perhaps the two of us could meet again in the next days or weeks. And all the best to everyone.
Great, thank you so much, Professor Jäger. And yeah, so have everybody has a good day and a good time. And next week we meet again. Francesco might give the announcement.
We meet at 2 p.m. with another guest, Dr. Joseph Böhle from Birmingham University. We are going to work on forgiveness, transitional justice, and reconciliation. So stay tuned and see you. Have a safe weekend and a good time. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.